Welcome to another episode of 20 Minutes of Clarity, where we bring you insightful discussions and valuable resources to enhance your financial well-being. I'm your host, Jason Noble, and joining me today is my fantastic and wonderful co-host, Andy the Man Merchant. And before we dive into today's topics, we have a special offer for our dedicated listeners. So go visit clearpicturefinancial.com and enter in your information, and we're going to send you a free copy of The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel as a token of our appreciation for your active engagement into our podcast. So as we wrap up the mid-year review section with a spotlight on the importance of books in our continuing learning journey, we've also delved into the realm of podcasts and social media in our past podcasts, but we mustn't overlook the profound impact that books can have on your personal and professional growth and overall development. Now, we have three exceptional books today that we're going to review. The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel, The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason, and Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. Each one of these books offer very unique and practical advice for financial professionals, to those who do it themselves, but those that Andy and I have both read that we really love to work with and then even share with our clients, even through conversations. So stay tuned as we delve into each one of these books. But let's just get started, Andy, on the one that we're going to be giving away for free for those who enter in their information, The Psychology of Money. You and I saw him actually speak at Future Proof. And then from there, we were able to then both get a copy of the book and have like a really cool overall like experience talking about it on our drive into work. Why don't you kick us off on like what you got out of The Psychology of Money?
Yeah, well, I'd even date it back earlier, Jason. I read the book even before we met him at Future Proof. So I had a little insight, and I knew the book was good. But I think for our viewers and our listeners, they see value in education, and we kind of led in the path that providing education and helping people understand their money is so relevant, so important in an overall financial plan. And so when I came across this book and I started reading, I'm like, man, this is exactly the message that I want to convey to a client relationship. And I want them to understand the mindset and the psychological emotions and just the feelings of it all. And you have to distract the numbers. So this is really the reason we're doing the giveaway, right, Jason, on this is because this is the basis of how the Clear Picture Wealth program was kind of really thought about, right? Of course, we brought in our unique twist and tweaks and combinations, but I really like it. And where I want to kick off, and I was pulling it up. So for those that haven't seen it, great book, good insight. Jason and I talk all the time. The best part about a book is that you can actually write in it, right? You can put sticky tabs. As Jason says, you can dog ear them. You can refer back to them. Podcasts are great, but they're hard to do that with. So you can see I got my sticky notes. But the one that really stood out to me that I wanted to kick off today with our mid-year kind of wrap up is it says really in here, long-term planning is harder than it seems because people's goals and desires change over time. And I think that's such an important kind of thesis of the book and the program. So I think it's a great book. I think it's one to check out. That's my favorite topic right now is thinking about the plan long-term. And that's kind of my thoughts on at least my intro to the book.
Yeah, and I'll go like there was three key takeaways that I received from the book, right? The role of behavior in financial success. It's so important to talk about what that could be by the like good financial behavior such as patience and discipline and ability to avoid impulsive decisions often outweigh the importance of technical financial knowledge, right? That comes into play. And like we can have the technical financial knowledge and share that with our clients as we go through the Clear Picture Wealth program. But one of the things that you and I are constantly focusing on is then helping them avoid those impulsive decisions and to stay patient, to have that discipline. The next is the impact of individual experiences. This is the one thing that I actually love about the work that you and I do, Andy, is we take their individual experiences and we understand how that could shape their unique life experiences and views on money. And that could be their personal experiences. That could be how they grew up. What's their relationship with risk and reward? and how that all comes into play. And so there's a lot of education that comes into that part, but there's also, when I say education, like we're being educated from our clients on their experiences, so then we can construct a financial plan that's tailored to them. And then the last
to
but not
add,
least takeaway is
yeah,
just the
no,
importance of managing risk and luck. It was interesting that they talked about the role of luck, the role that luck and risk has in financial outcomes. But Andy, I don't want to cut you off. It sounds like you wanted to kind of build on what I was just outlining.
Yeah, no, adding on there. I mean, that was kind of my favorite. I love how you said it's the emotional history, right? I think is a key takeaway, and it's highlighted well in this book. But a real life example I know that you and I talk about, and we talk with clients about, is mindset of just taking interest rate, right? We're in such a unique kind of cycle now, but those that are listening and viewing back in the in the 80s when interest rates were 12% for a home mortgage, the view of that as was debt, right? You purchased debt to own the American dream, but it was 12%. Fast forward to the financial crisis, right? And we talk about this all the time. Rates got set to like next to nothing, right? Just to re-stimulate the economy. But then what it turned into is that generation went through a growth. They didn't know what a mortgage above 3.5% was, so it changed the mindset to leverage. Well, now we're having conversations with those that experienced the mortgage back in say the 80s when it was higher. And oftentimes we'll talk about adding on home equity lines of credits and other strategic plans to create liquidity, right? But if we talk to those that had the experience of the higher interest rate environment, they're like, no, I got to pay off a mortgage as quick as I can. It's debt. That's what I learned to do. You talk to the other generation, they're like, yeah, leverage me up. Let's go. So it is important to kind of have those conversations, but mindset drives a big difference. So it does take a lot of time as the advisor. That's why we created the program the way we did. It's all about the why, not just the what. And that's an important example that I wanted just to kind of highlight as you were talking about just past experience on a financial topic or strategy. So,
well, it just goes to show, right? Like we take those past experiences, we understand what they are, and then when we build out the financial plan and the clear picture analysis, we're focusing on the why and we're showing them the how. How can you improve your financial life? Here are the top 2 or 3 things that if you put attention to and focus, it's going to make a big impact in moving you in the right direction. The other thing that I think, unless like those who listen that are active clients, like they see this when they meet with us over the years. But for those who are just joining in because they want to learn, like when we do a clear picture analysis score at the beginning of the year as we wrap up a year, in the next year, we also show the scoring of what the new reality is. So every single year, we're able to account for the dynamics of life. And Morgan Haskell, he talks about this in the book, and I found it to be refreshing and just reiterates what we do, right, Andy? And our clients that haven't read the book, well, they just need to get the book, right? They just need to put in their information, or when they meet with us in a meeting, like where you hand them the book, but there'll be something they could take away by reading it themselves. I think what it will do is bring more transparency. So when I'm going into a meeting over behavioral finances, I don't call it that, right? But I am working on the psychology of money with my clients through the conversation that we have so that they are inspired to achieve their life's ambitions and take the action from the conversation we just had.
Well, and as we transition, Jason, I think that's the best thing is the Clear Picture Wealth Program. Our kind of our value prop is to simplify the complex relationship people have with their wealth, right? This, you said it perfectly. This opens up. This book helps give you transparency, to your own wealth process and your journey, and understanding that when selecting an advisor or working with your advisors, the key questions maybe to ask around, and think about what the motivation is, but then tie it back to you. This isn't about a one-time sales. Your relationship with your money is too complex just to be a one-trick transaction. It needs to be holistic. It needs to be living. And I think that this book really highlights that well. And then it complements the Clear Picture Wealth program. So I'm so excited to be handing out a ton of these books. I really hope that someone on Morgan Hostels team is out there listening and maybe might feel obliged to donate, we have no kickback from that group at all. We just are passionate advisors that believe in education. So I hope you guys will take us up on the offer. The sooner you reach out, the better, because this is a limited time deal, probably for the rest of the month. Yeah.
Let's move on to The Richest Man in Babylon. This book I first read when I was in high school, and it is a book that I like to read every 2 to 3 years ongoingly. And it's something that I would say is one of my first books that I read on personal finances. Now, this is a timeless classic that offers financial wisdom through a series of parables set in ancient Babylon, okay? Hence, The Richest Man in Babylon. The book imparts like practical advice on wealth building and financial management, conveyed through a series of Babylonian like characters who learn and apply fundamental principles of prosperity. And Annie, I would just talk about like the key highlights that I got out of The Richest Man in Babylon. Number 1 is pay yourself first. Number 2 is control expenditures. And number 3 is make money work for you. Again, right? Like, wow, very complicated stuff. Right?
Yeah, sounds like cash flow optimization in the Clear Picture Wealth Program. Love it.
I just really liked where it was just like it spoke in a language that it was English, but the way it was conveyed was in a type of English that like it was like take your copper and turn it into like silver, right? It's like, well, that's talking about compounding money over time, right? And so like there was some of that you interpreted, and you had to like, and then I would say I read it every 2 to 3 years because what I know now was built upon what I knew yesteryear, right? And I'm building within that knowledge, and I read the book. Now, when I'm reading a book now, there's not much that I get out of it. But when I was reading this book throughout high school and then going into college and starting off in my career, it was so good for me to then take principles that I looked at from there and then impart that with my clients. Like pay yourself first. The book advocates for saving at least 10% of your income before you address other expenses. It encourages the habit of saving and prioritizing personal financial wealth and growth first, right? Okay, right into what we do within the Clear Picture Wealth Program. Control expenditures. It's important of distinguishing between the needs and wants. So when I do a cash flow analysis and we go what we call get geeky with it, we put an E or a D next to each expense, essential versus discretionary. I just did essential and discretionary versus needs and wants, right? But it's all the same thing. So if somebody's listening and like, well, I don't want to do the E and the D, I want to put the N and the W. Well, then go do it, but do it, right? And it's just like live within your means and avoid those unnecessary expenditures. And then the central theme was investing savings wisely to generate returns is a central theme within the book, and having that money work for you. And there was a part of it, it was going, the Richest Man in Babylon was like, I'm not well versed in real estate. I'll use this as an example, but I surrounded myself with people who are. Mm-hmm. And I always made sure that I was part of the conversation and the decision. I wasn't just going to give them my money. No, I was going to inspect what I expect. Now, for those who are true readers of The Richest Man in Babylon, you're like, wow, he really summarized that in a way that really like took it down parochially. But that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to go down and go through line by line of the book. But just think about that, right? I think about the work that you and I do. We have clients who are really good at saving money and they have good income streams, but they want to partner with a professional that will walk them through the decisions and how we go about. We do it with our client, not just for our client. And then we show them how do we come to the numbers to make those informed, better educated decisions, right? Mm-hmm. That is principles that are derived directly from The Richest Man in Babylon book.
Well, and adding to it, and obviously that's on my to read list. I have not made that one, but it's Jason's top, so it becomes our top. But you know, at the end of the day, the value, right, Jason, that we can bring, and it takes on the summary that you outlined, is that if you can borrow the ideas and the experiences that people have already journeyed through, and you could pick out which is more relevant to you, then can you become the richest person in your own Babylon and your own wealth plan. And don't, trying to take the journey on yourself in this complex world is sometimes challenging. And you got to hope that you make the right decision, because most of these are not reversible, right? And so by understanding, again, going back to the what and the how, or the how and the why versus the what, is where these books I think that we've highlighted or highlighting today are going to help that kind of set in, so that when you do have the opportunity to think of your plan or to work with us, you can kind of understand where the basis of this came into. So I'm excited for the book.
So as we wrap up, you want to hear this next one. It's Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. It's a comprehensive guide that aims to help readers understand and leverage tax laws to help build and preserve wealth. This is a seasoned CPA and tax advisor that really demystifies the complexities of the tax system. Now, Andy, this is the book that you really put your arms around and dug in.
Yeah.
Can you share with us what you got out of Tax-Free Wealth?
Yeah, my biggest takeaways, and as those that have listened through our podcast, right, Jason, know that we are our big focus of ours is what you, not necessarily what you make, but what you keep. And so that led me down the path of, well, you know what? The wealthiest people in the world have usually done things through tax planning or tax strategy versus just the invest and dump and hope and go away. Now, some of those avenues are there, but my big takeaways is that, one, and this book shares with you, is it encourages you to say, understand the tax laws. If you think about it, 95 or even probably higher, right, Jason, 98% of the entire tax code is talking about how they generate a revenue. And there's only like a few pages, or I'm sorry, 98% of it is how to play the tax game and reduce taxes, where there's only a small about tax code. So understanding that is so important. And I think what this book really highlighted, what resonated with me, and this is what started the tax planning focus that we started to do, was it's not just about tax prep. That's reactive and you can't do anything about it, right? You go in, you file your tax return, you take it in, you end up having a refund, or you owe. If you owe, you're upset. If you get a refund, then maybe you're happy, but then you realize that it's just your money the government's been borrowing. So you're probably not that happy. So how do you maximize the tax code to your personal situation? I thought was a big takeaway. And then the other big one that I'm looking at on here is, when you're investing, you really should be thinking about building an investment strategy that provides you with the most tax efficient investments. If it's tax free, that's great, right? There's Roth planning, there's other strategies that go in. But if you really think about it, all we're doing throughout the start of investing until we hit retirement, or that magical day of retirement independence, where you depend on your assets to produce the living of your cash flow, don't you want to have the majority of that cash flow being 100% at your dollar? Or do you want to, how much do you want the government partner to play in it, right? Simple number, if you need to live on $100,000 a year and you're paying 25%, we'll say, or 30% combined taxes, because that's all you have is deferred, the government gets their first 30%, you get the rest of the 70, but you did all the work and all the risk to get there. So shouldn't you be focusing your plan around that? So I think understanding the tax laws to get strategic with it, following up with have an intentional plan of developing your investment strategies, what they really took away from this, with tax-free or tax-efficient strategies. And then, of course, my final one is that it really dove deep into some of the real estate benefits. If you are focused and can plan ahead, there's a lot of benefits in real estate, but that's something you just don't want to just dive into. This kind of helps outlines what some of those benefits are. And then, of course, if you're a business owner, there's a ton of opportunity in there. So I really think this was great from a standpoint of, it makes you think about your investment approach via taxes and that lens.
Great.
So definitely a good one to check out.
And I just had a small takeaway that wasn't mentioned, was just like leveraging deductions and credits.
Yeah.
There's like various deductions and credits available under the tax code. And Wheelwright explains how to maximize deductions for business expenses, real estate, which you alluded to, retirement contributions you alluded to, among others. And he also covers lesser known credits that can significantly reduce tax liabilities. So those are 3 books that our listeners here could go and explore themselves. We encourage, if you want to do the audio book, okay, fine, right? But like, there's something about having a book in your hand, filling the pages on your fingers, and being able to dog ear and highlight and make it your own, right? So that's why if somebody wants to borrow your book, they will give it back, because there's so much of you in it, right? With all the stuff that you put in it. But, this is where we want people to go to clearpicturefinancial.com, enter in your information. For this month, we will be sending out the psychology of money, but also set up a time to speak with a specialist around your clear picture financial future. What are you looking to achieve? What are your life's ambitions? This is what we're helping you do. We want to help you achieve your life's ambitions. We want to not just help you. We want to inspire you to do that. This is where you got to take the action. Go to clearpicturefinancial.com, scroll down, enter in your information, and one of our specialists will reach out to you. That was Andy, the Man Merchant. I am your host, Jason Noble, and you just watched and listened to 20 Minutes of Clarity. Thank you.